it is going to be VortiX up against Puppypaw, and that is also a killer set that's going to be coming at us here. I mean, Puppypaw and VortiX, these are... Can we quickly... Okay, where's the head-to-head shot? I need that right now, because I can't off the top of my head remember just exactly how even those two players are. But when I just think about it, I think, okay, I don't know off the top of my head who of these players is like historically seen favorite, because that's typically what we have, right? Like when we look at the history of pro players, like at the very, very high top, we can very often like get an immediate understanding of whose play style counters the other. And looking at this, it looks like overall, Puppypaw has a very, very good win rate up at VortiX, but the last encounters, VortiX, he's been making a comeback.
Yeah, I think this series is going to be incredibly exciting for several reasons. So we have the stats here, just like you mentioned, Crackety. Historically, Puppypaw has been having the edge over VortiX by a decent little margin, but recently, and we have seen this manifested firsthand, VortiX has been in monstrous form lately. Notably in the Epochas tournament from the Russian community recently, we have seen that VortiX actually taking out Marine Lord 3-1 in the, I believe it was the quarterfinals, if I'm not mistaken, and then later went on to defeat Louis in the finals. So definitely playing some of the best AoE 4 he has done for a long time. VortiX has in fantastic shape. Puppypaw, on the other hand, he has went through what I would say is a bit of a playstyle shift recently as well. Typically, we have seen him be, a relatively, very solid, quite standard, balanced macro and aggression orientated player. I don't know how much you've played against him recently or seen him play, Crackety. He is looking feisty in his games with some relentless aggression.
Absolutely. And this is just something where I feel like the meta has forced a lot of players out of their comfort zone. I feel like it is, as you said, like Puppypaw, he is typically one of those like very balanced players. Like he's master of none, but like very good at every little aspect in the game. But this Pro Scout Mass Cavalry meta forces a lot of players to really specialize in the timings around Pro Scout, into the aggression play, into raiding, and it's just one of those metas where you can't sit in your base. You can't 2TC and boom. You can't play around the later win conditions because those just simply don't exist with Pro Scout and Mass Knights in the game.
Exactly. Very recently, the meta has been just so aggressive and really favoring those more aggressive playstyles for that meta, especially in the early parts of the game. Pro Scout's still prevalent for a lot of civilizations, but not as powerful as it was, so the resources on the map are up for grabs and up for contention for most civilizations, so many players are shifting with the tides as a result, just like you mentioned, Puppypaw being a very prime example of that. And opting for the French here in the game number 1 up against VortiX's Japan here on Gorge. This is, I think, historically a very back and forth matchup. I would, if I had to predict, I would say generally it favors the French just a little bit the later the game goes. But Japanese's early timings, especially when it comes to that castle age, can be very difficult for French to deal with if they are not prepared.
I honestly think that this is like one of the matchups where it's very difficult for Japan for one reason. It's because they can't follow their own main game plan that they typically want to go for. You can't just fast castle into mass mounted samurai. You gotta respect the French having the strongest crossbows, the arguably, well, not the best knights, but like knights with a bonus as well, or having feudal age knights as well. You gotta respect that. And so I agree, like early on, that's the timing that you really have to make use of as the Japanese here in this matchup. And that's hopefully exactly what we're going to be seeing here as we do jump into our game number 1 in our second series here of the day. VortiX in the color red as the Japanese, and Dark Age Pressure is on the menu here as we do see him opening up with that early barracks. Puppypaw in the color blue on the other side of the map here, playing as the French, opening us up immediately with that mill. So might be that we're getting that early wheelbarrow timing in as well. But this is so dangerous now, Myriad, because of that Dark Age timing push that VortiX is going to be going for. 3 villagers already out to gold. Puppypaw realizes, and he's gonna respect it, sending a lot of villagers out early to gold.
Yes, this is something you have to be very mindful of, especially as the French in this position going for the early wheelbarrow here in the Dark Age. Typically, it's not too big of a threat as long as you compensate on gold earlier on, just like Puppypaw has done. You will be able to pretty comfortably be able to get the gold for the age up. However, if you do want to go for that initial night, that's gonna be way more difficult to be able to soak up the necessary gold to do so if you do go for that wheelbarrow especially. But I would argue the early wheelbarrow provides more value, initially at least, than the early night will do. So Puppypaw likely just going to get the 200 that he needs in order to age up, and then go off of gold and play from then on, likely with the archery range opening from then on. VortiX though, he's going to go up to at least 3 spears here we see. Typically 2 spears are enough to push a civilization off of gold. 3, however, could be indicative potentially of a tower rush here, which on Gorge is typically more valuable than other maps as, of course, the resources spawn projected out sideways as opposed to forward, so their location is way easier to predict and control.
Right, and looks like VortiX has now realized, okay, the gold is on the left side of Puppypaw's base. He's moving towards, and Puppypaw still needs a little bit of gold for the age up, but... Oh, what desperate. It's always so... Man,
Oh, no.
This hurts. This hurts. It's not in range, but actually it is in range. The TC is going to be able to protect the gold here for Puppypaw, and... Yeah, this is gonna be... This is always so hard to play around with, because if we look at VortiX's, come on, it's not in range, but it is. I hate that. I hate that with a passion. Yeah. That is so unfair, unfortunate, and honestly something that should have been fixed like 1.5 to 2 years ago.
Name a more tilting moment than what VortiX is going through at this very moment. I mean, for those who aren't aware, the TC range indicator can be especially deceptive for a few reasons. If you pay close attention, you will see that the line of the circle is in fact dotted as well as prompt forward with those sides, and as a result of this, the range actually varies depending on where on the range indicator you are. The parts that are projected outward have a little bit additional range as opposed to the dots. So because of this, it results in situations like this.
It's actually a little bit different than that, Marriott. Think of it like this. There's like little archers inside of this building, inside of this TC, but they're in different spots. And every single one of them has the same range. So it's not actually really a circle that you've got there, but it's like multiple circles that partially overlap around the TC here. Sort of like how Cow shows, which is why sometimes the range in one direction is further than the ring shows. And yeah, it's a square-ish circle, as Cow says. Squircle. He's very insistent on us calling it Squircle. It's a Squircle.
It seems like Squircle is going to be the name of this shape here, as we have just a bit of a pause coming up here. Bear with us as we do so. Restore us on the way for VortiX, no surprise, as well as, of course, the School of Cavalry here for Puppypaw. Power on the way for VortiX as well. A little bit delayed than we see normally. Often we see when the Dark Age is the priority here for the Japanese, they will immediately go for that Tawara as soon as the farmhouse is placed on the berries. However, that is not the case here. VortiX opting for it later in exchange for a slightly faster feudal timing as a result. As already, we have an unpause, it seems like. Mining cap is going to go down, but it only costs 25 wood for the French, so really it's more worth it to just let it burn as opposed to repairing it than it is for most other civilizations.
Yeah, and Puppypaw is already got enough resources to, if he wants to, just rush up an outpost on the gold, right? Like, just pull 10 villagers over there, you rush the outpost up, and with that, you've immediately got gold secured again. Or, of course, you can just play it safe and probably want to make an archery range anyway, so just get the archery range in instead. Another villager goes forward, rebuilds that mining camp, and yeah, as you said, only 25 resource down the drain for Puppypaw. No big loss at all. The only loss here, arguably, for Puppypaw is that he can't immediately queue that knight. It's going to be a horseman instead.
You can see the value of this Dark Age Rush being displayed firsthand here, however. On other maps, sometimes we see, well, at least when the Tower Rush is in question, the French going for a different gold in order to access it and ignoring the initial one completely, but they are so far away on EGC Gorge here. Archer is now on the field. He's going to look to pressure the Spearman. One did go down already here for VortiX. Now the others are in danger and are forced to go away. There's that Puppypaw is going to forego Pro Scouts altogether, which is quite common when we do see a Dark Age Rush like this, already moving out onto the day manual instead. Osman finds the gold. He's going to be able to poke the villagers. No real damage done, but information has been gained. I mean, you see a tower on the gold and 7 villagers gathering for the Japanese. I mean, that's a pretty clear sign of what's to come.
Yeah, and Puppypaw, he's saying, okay, you want to dance, I can dance with you. And he is preparing for an assault. We're getting the blacksmith in from Puppypaw. So he is... okay. I was wondering why we're looking at it at that weird angle, but we got the little Squircle show off there.
The Squircle once again makes an appearance here. Spearman? No,
This is the kind of technology that only Cow has access to. The developers themselves couldn't even dream of being able to draw on their screen.
No, I mean, you know, especially when it comes to a Squircle, it's a complex shape that demands respect and accurate representation.
Yeah.
And few people besides our wonderful Cow can manage that.
We did have another little Squircle show off there. As they... Oh my... The Squircle!
Oh, no.
Careful, the Squircle, Puppypaw! It's so dangerous. It's such a, like, powerful shape, truly.
Deceptive indeed it is, as Puppypaw finds out firsthand here. The power of the Squircle is not to be underestimated. Similarly to Louis, a very innocent sounding word, but in this context presents a nightmarish threat.
Squircle, it's one of those many things in life that you will find yourself faced off against eventually. It's like cave diving. At one point in our lives, we all have to do it, so better be ready for the Squircle, because it's coming for you.
It's coming indeed. There's a sort of urge when you see the Squircle, both to stay away and to go closer, like a moth drawn to light.
We're gonna see the horseman go for it? Nah. Outpost has been fortified with an emplacement. The spearmen, at least the 2 surviving ones, did make it back, have been reinforced with an additional spearman. And now VortiX is going to be aging up with the floating gate. The first couple of knights are now on their way from Puppypaw as well. The timing is going to be quite dicey though, I fear, because VortiX, he is also going to be struggling a little bit for the population space. There's one house next to the berries that could be taken down after the gold has been contested. And then he's gonna need wood again, and it's gonna be like a whole back and forth, and it's gonna hurt his timings when it comes to unit production. It's a whole thing, Ariad. It's a whole thing.
Without a doubt it is. And speaking of things, there is a very large and ominous looking thing now battering on that tower. VortiX evacuated just in time there before any real threat is put onto his economy. And he did bank himself a decent bit of gold here, so there is enough for 3 mounted samurai in queue. He could theoretically drop a market and, well, VortiX, of course, is going to go for the greedy route. Moving. Yeah, and he was almost in position as well. Oh.
He's gonna go for it. He's gonna go for it. The awareness from Puppypaw. He knows, okay, surely my opponent wants gold. Where could he be getting gold from? Oh, there's one gold spot on the other side. I'm just gonna quickly check.
This could potentially be disastrous here for VortiX. If this... Oh, but the knight didn't go for the gold. He went for the deer instead. I think he might be... Yeah, he's going to circle back towards the gold here. With his units in position already.
He's gonna see it. Okay, so he is gonna see it, but... Could have potentially killed a couple more villagers.
Yeah.
Potentially. Oh, but now the ram. It's undefended. Knight is gonna exact Squircle's revenge.
So the ram is going to fall into the side, and the relic has been picked up by the Shinto priest. Defensive Wololo is going to come in to direct that knight away, which will escape. The ram has now fallen, and the archers that were in it are going to look to make an escape through the back of the wood line.
Maybe kill 1 or 2 villagers? Yep. It's 1 villager kill. Okay. Value. Now the knights circling back are going to protect the archer. Does VortiX already have an outpost on the gold? That's the most important thing right now for him. Getting an outpost. He does not have an outpost yet. But he does have enough knights potentially. Puppypaw with an even knight count. That's not enough.
That's just not
even
enough.
Is not enough.
No, it's a
He
bit
does
of a
have pierce
worrying
damage
situation.
though, and there's no pierce armor.
That's true. So the archer's actually in enough mass will still do relatively respectable damage to these knights, but the issue is those numbers. These 3 mounted samurai alone can clean up the entirety of the mass here from Puppypaw. Oh, courtesy of that Dark Age rush, the delay on this knight count here from Puppy is significant, but evacuations are on the way. VortiX, not taking chances, was not able to get the necessary wood to go for the outpost, so instead he is going to back off. You don't want to lose these mounted samurai. They are limited in count. You have no real access to gold. One did go down, but most of Puppypaw's archers have also fallen at this point in time.
Value is in favor of VortiX, but at the same time, idle time has been caused plentiful by Puppypaw, and he's got a lot of food. What he doesn't have is a lot of gold, but he can still like get a lot of gold inside of his base. So the knight count should still steadily rise at the moment for Puppypaw. Has to get another villager killer potentially. He doesn't have the charge ready though. He's gonna have to wrap around a little bit, and we do have more charges coming in.
So many low HP
knights
knights here though from Puppypaw, right? You have to be so careful not to lose them in this position.
VortiX though, he is very much food constricted. He might be getting some gold in now, but food is pretty much only available for him for like one remaining sheep, and the couple of free farms that he's been getting from his landmark.
The Yorishiro has also been deployed in the TC, which is great to scale a village count, but more food needed as the Warlord comes in right as the charge comes in from both the Samurai and the Knights. Three or two of the French Knights fall immediately upon the charge connection. Big losses there for Puppypaw, but he does keep it in check just again. And again, VortiX moves out onto that southern gold as the outpost is now being rushed up, learning from his previous mistake.
Yeah. Looking at his resource split right now, though, that is going to be a ton of villagers on gold. But he realizes, look at that, VortiX from the gold where he was inside of his base, now moving out to the top berries. That's what he needs right now. That's the food access that he's been striving for, that he just didn't have. Now doesn't need to be gathering the gold inside of his base. Yeah, you can tell, like, he's still very much, like, desperate for food at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's a dire situation. I mean, Japanese, of course, they have the free farms, but the symptom of Gorge here is that the woodline blocks some of the placement for the Kura, so he's missing out on a few of those farms because of the wood and the TC, so less food in for him. Clash comes in here at the front of VortiX's base yet again, charged from the Mounted Samurai as well as the Royal Knights here. Not many Royal Knights left standing here for Puppypaw. Spearman production is underway for him, but the trade favors VortiX so much here. The destroyed value, and he can heal them.
Already with 3 Shinto priests inside of his base. That is an easy heal up. Now we're even getting Sprinkle placements in on the outpost there from VortiX.
And the gold as well.
No longer an attractive target. Another knight goes down.
Painful losses here for Puppypaw. These knights, although they are weaker than the Mounted Samurai here from VortiX, the price is very, very close. He needs every one he can get. Now, VortiX also has the stone necessary, courtesy of the Japanese bonus, to get stone from gold and vice versa. He's going to be able to fortify the outpost as well, which is now on the way for him. Spearmen are starting to build in count here for Puppypaw though, so VortiX has to be a little bit more careful and picky about his engagements. Knight is going to discover the villages on the berries, but prudently VortiX already has a tower on it, so no severe threat just yet.
Fortification is coming in on the outpost on the gold as well. These knights, they're not getting any healthier at the moment. Puppypaw, he just doesn't have chivalry yet, so hasn't really been able to heal up these knights effectively yet. Now also, the transition period. Now, actually, nice play from Puppypaw, moving out to the second gold before the first one gets expired. That way he's going to have a much smoother transition to his gold income.
Nice pickup on the Mounted Samurai there.
Yeah, the army count from Puppypaw is still looking very solid. VortiX even needing a market here to trade out some resources. Now we're seeing an archery range coming in. This is also some classic Spanish base building here. Very compact, but at the cost of not really being able to like farm around PC.
Yes, part of it does come from the necessity. In fact, looks like Puppypaw has had enough. He dives directly under the main town center here. It is upgraded. This is a level 2 town center, so way stronger than a regular town center, but there's so many units here from Puppypaw. Looks like he's content exchanging most of his army here in exchange for heavy economic damage, but it is a dangerous strategy with so many mounted samurai on the field. Looks like he's gonna look to make a retreat behind VortiX's base here. Still has most of his units intact and killed a lot of villagers in that dive there.
He killed more villagers on the berries as well. As our observer is pointing out, there's not that many villagers left. And trade out is coming in now. We do suddenly see a production of Yumi archers coming in now with the Arashiro. Those are going to be coming in very, very quickly. And looks like Puppypaw does not quite have enough units here now at the front line. His army, it's pretty much getting cleared entirely. Barely any of the knights went down. 2 went down out of 10. So still 8 remaining here. And for it, like the entire military from Puppypaw has been shrunk by half.
Yes, the destroyed value tells no lies. More than double ahead now in favor of VortiX. But minus Puppypaw, you see where a lot of that money went and why the unit count is not as high as we expected. There is an age up. It is going to be the Royal Institute, which I mean, I gotta say, I'm not too sure of with the level of knights on the field here for Puppy. There is actually a decent count still. As long as you can conserve the numbers, there might still be a lot of value to be gained from them. Puppy, once again, pushing VortiX off of the berries, but can't stay here for too long. The Yumi count uploading has so many low HP samurai.
Yes. At this point, it's worth just making additional Shinto priests just to heal them up. Wait, what more is being created? Is that from the Arashiro, or is that actually like active? It's active production. VortiX is actively producing a Shinto because he knows, okay, I gotta heal. I gotta heal my guys.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of value that you can squeeze out of just a few Shinto priests here, healing all of those mounted samurai. Of course, it is a time-consuming process. So much health on these mounted samurai that the Shinto priests will be a while before they can repair them. What am I talking about? Heal them, of course. We see, notably here for Puppy, one thing, you know, the lack of economic upgrades. I mean, we have wheelbarrowing in the Dark Age, and Horticulture was picked up recently, of course, but with that initial archer pump, as well as so many knights, not having specialized pick and double VortiX, it's really gotta hurt at this point in time.
Yeah. Now, though, we are at a point in the game where Puppypaw, he has got a lot more knights out on the field and in queue combined. And he's about to be getting a whole lot of very, very effective upgrade. We're getting veterancy in, we're getting candled sandals in, and very soon, I didn't even get the kill there, and very soon we'll also be able to get Royal Bloodlines in, which I think, I'm not sure if it's already been queued up, but it's been queued up in just a little bit. Also, nice unit split here from Puppypaw. Has some villagers here that will most likely be going down, but on the board has some units there that can help. So satisfying when villagers all die at the same time.
Yeah, so when you pick different knights onto different villages and seeing them, the bodies fall to the floor at the same time. Okay, maybe I'll stop there. I think that's getting a little bit
graphic,
a little bit of a serial killer situation going there. As we see Puppypaw moving to the north, large gold blade, but there's mounted samurai in place. Spears will meet these mounted samurai in the south side, but at the same time, this raid is actually so brutal.
Puppypaw losing a lot of his villagers there. Where is he moving? Oh, he's moving the knights back. He's just going to another gold. What is this? He knows he can't afford to take the fight there. He needs to meet up with his villagers, which he just continuously loses a lot of right now. No, where's he going?
No, it's distracting with the mounted samurai. The knights are not there to meet them in time. There's a few coming now, as well as our Balletria production now in for Puppypaw as well. One of them coming in defensively to protect that relic from additional Royal Knights here for Puppypaw. Royal Bloodlines is only a few seconds out though. Now, mounted samurai are undoubtedly stronger than Royal Knights, even with the veterans in the cast stage. However, when that Bloodlines comes in, the switch is considerable.
Yeah, now at this point in time, the Knights from Puppypaw are gonna be way stronger, and VortiX, what does he have? Yuumi Archers. What are Yuumi Archers gonna do against Royal Bloodline Royal Knights? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. So VortiX, the army value, it's not nearly as high as Puppypaw's right now. He is adding in some Onimushas, but it's few and far between right now. Fights are starting to be taken now as well. Starting to push through into the main.
Yeah, the units are trickling in steadily here for Puppypaw. More and more Knights on the way. VortiX looking to distract as much as possible whilst he tries to build up this Onimusha count here. Cancelling even the Yuumi and Q to build for more Onimusha. Recognizing by this point, of course, seeing the Royal Bloodlines in for these Knights. But you can just see how tanky and durable these Royal Knights are with those Bloodlines. Puppypaw just doesn't care. He dives directly underneath the town center yet again. But another raid by VortiX discovers the villagers on the gold mine yet again. But this time, defenses are in place with these Royal Knights here to clear up the Mounted Samurai. But so much damage has been dealt to both sides. But these Knights, they're just not dying.
Pavisa could be used here for additional 5 armor on these Arbaletria up against the Yuumi Archers. Knights just not really dying here at all right now, and suddenly army value is 4,000 to 1,500. Puppypaw, he's just continuously streaming the units across. Suddenly starts even making some horsemen instead of more knights. Does have the gold for it, in theory, to continue with the knight production. More knights coming in yet again on 2 sides as well. Chivalry has also been researched behind it, and now Puppypaw, he wants to get a little bit of a wrench going here. A lot of villagers have been lost on his side. Now it is his turn to start killing some of these villagers, even camping up with some low HP knights out on the berries. Just waiting and regenerating in the meantime.
We do have a little bit of an issue rising here for Puppypaw, which of course is an issue for VortiX as well, but is slightly offset by the Kura storehouse. The food is running out steadily here for Puppypaw, and there is no guild hall behind this to start accruing it. But he did manage to get a keep up on his production, so that's a significant discount on his units. And of course, with the Royal Institute, you will have access to enlistment incentives for him as well, further boosting that discount. Technology normally only available in the Imperial Age. This Puppy, looking to raid, but is discovered here by the Onimusha, and the Mounted Samurai is going to now be forced back towards the center third of the map.
Something to keep in mind, if you want to scale your economy, you could also just make a market. Especially as the French, because you can actually set your traders to generate food as well. It's a very nice way for you to generate resources. But at the same time, VortiX, he's there again. Looking for some villager kills, is going to find at least 3 here, from the looks of it. Looks like it's only going to be 2, potentially. Puppypaw, we do see the game plan. He is starting to wall off, and we might be soon starting to see the first couple of traders. Another thing to keep in mind is that with the Royal Institute, there's an Imperial Age trading upgrade that you can research in Castle Age as the French, and it is going to be merchant guilds. Very cheap as well. Active traders generate 1 gold every 6 seconds. That is 10 gold per minute. That's a lot of additional gold income. Not as much as like a villager, but like it's like a third of a villager almost, for every single trader on top of it.
It's significant, without a doubt, and it adds up rapidly as the trader count climbs, but the trader count first has to actually climb for that to be the case. Difficult thing to do against such high mobility from VortiX's army, with the Yuumi, the Mounted Samurai as the Onimusha, just a faster army than Puppypaw's at this point in time, especially with the addition of the Arbaletria now for him as well. And now the most painful part in the game for any French player, the slow farm transition is beginning. As production is highlighting for us, there's just no care at all for Puppypaw regarding for relics. Understandable, really. I mean, heavy gold cost on those priests, of course.
He sees the trader!
The trade.
It's discovered. The ruse is up. Oh man, now this is starting to become very, very tough now for Puppypaw.
Yeah,
trying to find some more villager kills.
I think it was the very first trader as well. The very first trader you make just gets intercepted immediately and put down. At the same time, Puppypaw does discover the gold yet again and is going to look to trade, but VortiX, only 5 villages there, sprinkled in placement and fortification, so not an easy. But Puppy behind their second TC as well, the greed.
Yeah, I mean, 25 minutes in the game after all of these engagements, but yeah, it is indeed still very greedy. Does have a keep working for him though. It does have a keep inside of his base, so all of his units are...
What?
If we don't move, we can't see it. Oh, he's breaking out.
The cheekiest villagers known to man, all crumpled there together in a containment camp there. Now looking to break out to safety once the danger has passed. Heavy farm transition still underway here for Puppypaw, but VortiX is circling, looking for any angle to cause damage, any angle to attack and just ripple Puppypaw further, who is now using so much of his food just for villages at this point in time. Of course, French TC is producing faster, so not only is it the regular 2TC cost associated in terms of food, but even more than regular civilizations now.
Man, and VortiX, he's got enough units. The Yumi are just so cheap. He can continuously afford just running them into the base of Puppypaw now. And there we go. He's starting to find a couple more villager kills. And Puppypaw, he just can't seem to make use of the investment at the moment to really get the use in of that second DC. He's still behind in the villager department. 38 of them have been killed so far in this game. Traders continuously being intercepted as well by VortiX.
Puppypaw does manage to weather the storm for now, as VortiX's army is pushed back yet again. VortiX doesn't want to dive too deep, despite his way superior food income at this point in time. Part of it is, of course, there's no real fear of a guild hall, Red Palace timing here from Puppy. There's, of course, no guild hall on the field at this point in time, so VortiX doesn't have to be too overzealous. He can be a little bit more calculated with his attacks, with his raids. Seems to be the case here. Also attacking from the north side at this point in time. So many villagers killed already. I mean, Puppy has faster villager production and is going to be... And also now has the second TC, of course. But is actually behind in villagers. It's like... Archer production is heavily underway now. For Puppypaw as well behind this. We did see the veterancy come in earlier for him. Stables producing heavily Sportman. Horseman now as well will be very useful because the range mass from VortiX is really significant and climbing steadily. The mounted samurai count is also very scary at this point in time. Puppypaw looking to raid, wanting to distract VortiX somewhat, keep him towards that center third or even better his third, but VortiX is not going to take the bait. Just a few knights going to his base. That's something his reinforcements can deal with. But if those knights are raiding, it means they're not at home to defend, which presents a perfect opportunity for VortiX to do exactly this, which is start torching that secondary town center. Many farms now on the field for Puppypaw, but many of those farms are also exposed at the same time. The count here from Puppypaw is realistically just not enough to hold this. The keep is going to offer much needed respite for him, but for how long, as the farm fields are now under heavy fire from this Japanese attack. So many of them idle, so many more villages going down. Puppypaw's own raid deals significant damage as well behind this. Most of the farms in his own base now idle, and these are bloodline knights, so they will not fall easily, but the numbers don't lie. The army value so severely in favor of VortiX. Economy count is neck and neck as well, but the income, VortiX almost triple the income of Puppypaw at this point in time. And now, looking to dive even under double town center and keep. A lot of damage being taken there, but... Can he stay?
The issue truly is just that Puppypaw, with all of these archers and all of these artillery that he has there, these units just don't get any benefit from the Royal Institute. So it's like, not even that there's any special units, it's all in the knights, but he just doesn't have the economy to continuously produce these knights or horsemen even.
Yeah, even with the discount, even with the farms, the cost is just too much because of the second town center. VortiX just does definitely want to take it down, but it's not, there's not too much pressure for him to dive directly under the main DC or the keep. As we mentioned earlier, there's no guild hall, there's no very reliable scaling here for Puppypaw behind this. So as long as VortiX can control the map, now with a 5th relic on the way for him as well, he's gonna be in prime position to keep getting further and further ahead in this game number 1.
I want to say, though, Puppypaw did just manage to pick off a lot of villagers. Now, it's still like 5 relics on the side of VortiX, right? He hasn't taken any of the sacred sites, though, in this fight. There's like all of these knights right now, they're very weak. We do have +2 pierce damage in on all of the archers as well, so they are doing the full damage. I think all of these knights should be going down at the end of it. Villagers will need to get pulled to safety here as well. I think this could be a lot worse at this point in time. Like, all of these knights are going to go down as well, and suddenly there aren't any more knights with VortiX's main army here. He is remassing a lot, though. This is so difficult to say right now. Like, how is Puppypaw going to come back from this? He needs gold, but he just doesn't even have a remote angle of where he can take gold from. It's like he needs another keep in order to secure the gold somewhere.
Yeah, another keep would indeed be nice in this situation, but affording it is easier said than done, as Puppypaw is now relying purely on the archer defense, as really, that's all he can afford. The mounted samurai were on the right side of those farm fields, and now VortiX reconnects them with his main ranged mass skirted around the back of Puppypaw's base. And this is a pretty scary Japanese army. The mass is about to connect again with the reinforcements very soon. Many units arriving now for VortiX. But even this frontal army is enough to challenge all of the mass here from Puppypaw. It's just archers, Crackety. But he can't afford anything else.
Yeah, all he has is food and, well, doesn't even have food. That's the issue. He had wood. If it was food that he had, at least he could be making horsemen. And horsemen are just so much better for him, with the royal bloodlines at least. Like, legitimately, the horsemen would be a killer unit here for him. And just as he's moving out to the gold, I see a lot of red dots. Probably the reinforcement knights moving toward that large gold vein.
That actually might be what breaks the camel's back in this game. The camel, of course, being Puppypaw in this case. As it seems, yeah, he just knows. Even before the mounted samurai arrive, the pressure is just relentless. And when it comes to pressure from VortiX, we know it's not something he's gonna stop applying here. As he takes game number 1, and what a chaotic, messy game. Definitely what we expected from these two extremely aggressive players.
And looking at the military count, this definitely wasn't like a clean game, to say the least. It was very much like a back and forth game between them. Looking at the economy count as well, there were some pretty solid raids on both sides. I think, honestly, like, Puppypaw not reacting as quickly to the one raid on the large gold mine, not having any outposts up there, I think that was the beginning of the comeback then and there from VortiX back in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely much needed for him after suffering so much idle time, so much pressure in that feudal age. And discovering all those villages, once VortiX was finally able to get a little bit of breathing room and begin moving onto Puppypaw's side of the map, the raids were just relentless. They just kept coming, and the mounted samurai, few units so capable at raiding because of that additional melee damage and of course the deflective armor, making them durable and able to kill villagers in a charge and a slap of their samurai sword right afterwards. See, the ram did a lot of work here for Puppypaw in the early part of the game, but the issue is, like, the spearman delay on the gold means that you're not able to scale these knights earlier. In a lot of cases as the French, you can deal quite well with Castle Age opponents as long as you have that knight mass to deal with the luxury units. But equal count royal knights in feudal age to equal count samurai, that's not a position you want to be in.
Yeah, 100% not. This is like one of typically when I find myself in this situation, it is so difficult to like see the light at the end of the tunnel with like only having very few mounted samurai up against the just very much continuous stream of French Royal Knights that is coming out. And VortiX, though, he was able to persevere, able to just keep those couple of mounted samurai alive back in time, like time and time again, just with those Shinto priests able to heal him back up to full. And it's so much value that he was able to get out of those mounted samurai, probably trading like 2-to-1 there for the most part, mounted samurai into those Royal Knights, and then right down the line, the mass Yumi army composition. That's just such an effective way of bolstering your army count. The Yumi just being such a cheap unit here for him. And yeah, also putting your Yoroshiro inside of the TC, that is like one of the main ways that VortiX was able to come back in the economy, but then also not fall behind after that.
Yeah, the Yorishiro in the TC is such a valuable place to put it, especially if you know that you are likely going to stick on that one town center for a long period of time. Of course, that's how you get the most value out of it, if you don't have to add a second town center because of the faster production, and you can then reinvest all the extra resources into units, of course, as VortiX has done in this case. But now we see the map that we don't see too often, do we, Krakody? You know, as our next map of choice here. Of course, the loser does pick the next map in the series every time, and Puppypaw opting for excavation here, but I find his choice a little bit interesting because, you know, excavation, a slightly civilization locked map, I'm sure you would agree. There's a few civilizations that do really well here because of the nature of the map, and others tend to struggle. Lancaster is definitely one of them, Ottoman is definitely one of them, but I feel like generally speaking, Lancaster does very well up against Ottomans.
I think it goes kind of like both-ish ways sometimes. So what's very nice for Ottomans, of course, is their unique units. They also get some very strong bonuses in general throughout the game. Having Sipahi, the strongest horseman, against arguably, at least for their role, the weakest horseman, that is very cheap though with the Hobbler. I think overall, Ottomans, they get a lot more value, I want to say, out of the stone, because in theory you only just need a single villager inside one of those camps, and by the time that you like hit feudal age, you will already have enough stone for like all the military schools that you might ever want. So I see the vision. Both players obviously want to pick Mongols here, but having excavation and map draft, both players did ban Mongols. But now it is time for us to jump into our game. Number 2 here, Myriad. Puppypaw, a point behind now on the scoreboard, is going to be using the Ottomans here. VortiX, the House of Lancaster, the demon-ish civilization. And what is he doing already in the back there of his base? Is that is he placing a barrack right next to the excavation site? It is.
That must be it, right?
Must have been the wind or something. Like, this is interesting.
Yeah, quite a common little start here on, well, for some civilizations at least on this map, particularly when they do like to go for that barracks. It's not something Mongol could typically do, of course. You are reliant on the Uvu for that double production. But similarly to how we see on Enlightened Horizon, just bring the villager back here, build the barracks angled towards the Forgotten Ruins, the house next to it, and soon enough we're able to capture it, and the villager will then jump inside immediately to start gathering up that stone. But now these spearmen will be used to gain some value. Puppypaw, actually, interestingly, does not opt for anything of the sort. There is no military school with long-distance gathering. There is no barracks. Instead, wanting to get up to that feudal age ASAP here. So, I'm not sure. I feel like there must be a little plan here for Puppypaw in doing this.
Myriad, I'm gonna say that we're gonna see one very special unit here today from the Ottomans. I'm going to guess that at any one point in this game, we will see the appearance of the Akinji for the Ottomans. Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me why I think that that's gonna happen. I just know it's gonna happen.
Honestly, I am an Akinji Copa believer and Copa indeed. So sometimes I feel like they may be able to gain some very significant value in some matchups. Granted, I think this matchup is far from one of them. However, that would still be very entertaining here to see indeed as the Akinji. Notably, they actually have just superior stats in virtually every way compared to the Rus Horse Archer, but are way more expensive as a result. And of course, you cannot get them for free. You need to unlock them through that second tier Vizier point, and it does take a little while to get to that stage.
We have a couple of spearmen now, burning down that mining camp. At least gonna be getting a little bit of value in there from that. As we are getting a little bit of a graphic here on what kind of Vizier points players would typically go for. But I feel like ever since we've gotten the buff to the Akinji Vizier point with you getting immediately 3 of them. I feel like that is like one of the things that immediately made the Vizier point good again.
Good is a very powerful choice of words, I would say.
I think it's
but
good. Like 3 is the perfect number because with 3 you one-shot villagers.
That's true. That's very true. But the only issue, right, is how long it takes to come in. I mean, especially if you don't start a military school, like Puppypaw here, it takes so long to actually unlock it. I mean, of course, you need the first Vizier point, which is still a decent ways off here for Puppypaw, and then you need the second Vizier point as well. But the Akinji are amazing units. Very, very powerful indeed, with virtually no counterplay. So we're going to have to see if they do come out here for Puppypaw in this game number 2. Medres is now finished. A very, very nice injection of food income for Puppypaw. 5 villagers able to gather boosted berries for the rest of the game, up until you get Wheelbarrow and Horticulture, after which only 4 can do so. VortiX now also aging up with the Abbey of Kings, and Crackety, I mean, this Abbey of Kings play from House of Lancaster has become notorious.
Impressive. Yeah, it's
disgusting even.
It very much is like just one of those plays where you see it coming, you want to react to it, you want to make the units that, you know, are good against it, and then you still end up failing. You're like, okay, so this exists apparently, because there's just very little that most civilizations can do against a flood of hobblers, spearmen, yeomen with a 20% health increase.
It's just the sheer audacity, the fact that you know it's coming. You know exactly that they're most likely going to go hobblers afterwards, and a lot of them are that. But they still do it, knowing that you know that they're gonna do it. And then, you know, what can you really do in response? I mean, sure, you can make spears. I mean, they're not going to last long against the lords or the yeomen that are likely to follow afterwards. I mean, if you have knights, you can deal with the hobblers, but then spears will come out. You could try to go horsemen against the hobblers, but guess what? The hobblers are cheaper, faster, and with the lords, they quite handily beat the horsemen. So really, Puppypaw has very limited options here, but Ottomans, I mean, especially as it goes later and later in the game, they'll be able to deal with this, but initially it'll be a little bit of a struggle. The archers, however, will be able to push away and deny the spears. Yeah, you need a great bombard to deal with it, that's for sure.
Just gotta quickly, like, go into the, you know, content creator and change the bombard to be the feudal age Vizier point for the Ottomans. That's how you're gonna work that one. First Vizier point.
I mean, JD was able to do it with the cannons in the past, right? To get in the feudal age, so...
Wonder where she pulled the cannon from, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or the horse, for that matter, that suddenly appears out of nowhere.
It's kind of like, you know, in some games like RPGs, what is it, Elden Ring, for example, just blow the whistle and the horse comes. I'm sure it's a similar situation for JD.
You know, it's people talk about like ancient technology that's just been lost through the ages, and I think phasing technology probably one of those.
It's true without a doubt. It's just been lost to time at this stage. Maybe we'll rediscover it soon. Interestingly, Puppypaw not opting to actually pick a Vizier. I don't think he picked one just yet. He's probably... I'm not sure if he is trying to decide or if there's something in particular he's looking for before deciding. The thing with the first tier is that all 3 of them are very valuable, so it's not always an easy choice to make. Well, the meta,
yes and
you
no.
know...
Yeah, the meta one is so-so because, like, it doesn't work most of the time. So it's like, yeah, don't go for that. The thing is, with Anatolian Hills, because it also increases your gold gathering, if you're going to go for Anatolian Hills, the sooner the better. The sooner you benefit from the gold gathering, the better. But here we go now, we got the first couple of hobblers in. Puppypaw, he doesn't have that much in terms of the army count, and that's going to be 1 villager now that is going to be going down, just jumping out of the ruin at the worst possible point in time. Outpost is going to get an emplacement up on it. Definitely is going to need it as well. We do have the first couple of Sipahi in the queue now. Next up is going to be the Yemen. Good call from Puppypaw to go for the Sipahi straight away rather than the Spearman here. as the Spearman would immediately get counted out by this. And now we do have the move in from VortiX. Sure, the outpost has an emplacement. Sure, most of the units aren't armored. Does it matter? Not really.
I mean, he doesn't have undermesh, but again, does it matter?
It's
not really.
It's House of Lancaster. They got the manners, they get the economy there, and yeah, this is.
People did get punished for his greed, though, right? Opting for that forward Forgotten Ruins there, exposed in the center of the map, and loses the villager for it, and instead of going for the safe one in the back. Of course, the outpost was there in position, offering a bit of a staging ground for his army to protect, but, I mean, against this kind of a play from Lancaster, something you have to be so careful about doing, and pays an even heavier price for it as the outpost goes down, and in turn, an additional villager. Now 2 villagers down, Puppypaw is. I don't think we have any military schools, if I saw correctly. Oh, Relic has now
There's one military school.
Oh, yes,
the issue at the moment for Puppypaw is that now he is very, very far behind. The question is, what's he gonna do now that he's behind? Is he gonna try and get a tech up in order to get some better units out on the field? Not really feasible at all, because we know House of Lancaster are notorious for, just right-clicking once with, like, select all military, and suddenly you're in the endgame screen and the victories, or rather in the loss screen when you're playing up against them. So age up definitely not on the menu for him, and Puppypaw does recognize that, and he is making additional Sipahi. The question is, like, how quickly can he get them out there? Sipahi are actually great here right now for what VortiX has got out on the field. He just needs a lot more of them.
He does need a lot more of them. He does also have the mech there, and of course the additional attack speed, melee armor, or ranged armor for that matter, will be crucial in these fights for him. Looks like we did have Anatolian Hills being picked up for Puppypaw. And that secondary... Oh, actually, no, excuse me, no. It is the field work for the 2 imams, my mistake. But the secondary vizier point is creeping in. As I say that, though, VortiX, with a cheeky little move, the yeoman, with additional move speed, find the villagers on the gold and snipe one quickly there in turn. But with the second vizier point coming in, are we going to see those coveted elite Akinji warrior horsemen? Well,
I think at this point in time, the window for Akinji hasn't really existed in this game. We do see a little raiding attempt here at the moment from multiple Sipahi, actually, coming in from Puppypaw. Look at that, he's idling out VortiX's entire economy at the moment. A little bit, of course, is still working, courtesy of just having the manners here. But also, with the matter, these Sipahi just aren't dying. They're just not killable. He's getting so many villager kills here, Myriad.
Yeah, the value is getting a bit exceedingly in favor of Puppypaw here. 5 villagers dead, the mech there, as well as the Iron Undermesh, providing so much resistance to the Sipahi, and of course, with no melee units, notably spears to defend, that fortitude attack speed allows them to just melt through those villagers. Puppypaw finding some much needed damage and now taking a firm Vil lead here with 3. Sacrifices a lot of the Sipahi, but feeling confident enough to remove out towards the center of this map, reclaim the day. As VortiX's army is actually, most of it is out of position behind his base. This could be very dangerous.
That must have been a misclick. Matter drums instead of Anatolian Hills or the Akinji point? I would have expected a lot, just not that one. That is the last Vizier point that I expected. Yeah, extensive fortification also could have been a play, but now he's got 3 matter out on the field. And VortiX is going to go for a dive on the wood line at the same time. Fight could be taken here by Puppypaw's army. And I think he is going to take the fight. That's the first villager going down here, but most should be able to make it out alive. Imam hasn't been sniped out quite yet. They're still alive. Well, thanks.
The fact that the yeomen, I think they take, what, 3 or 4 hits with these 4 lords to die to the Sipahi is just incredible to me. As the Hopalars did find the wood line, as you mentioned, 3 of the villagers do go down again. The villager count is neck and neck. Just a little bit of idle time from VortiX, putting him a further villager behind. Fight has been taken by Puppypaw, clearing out a good chunk of VortiX's mass, but the villagers, there's not enough spots.
The lord's just not going down, and now the speed-up army from VortiX is just gonna march all the way back to the Abbey of Kings to get healed back up to full.
As if
nothing
maybe he
could.
even happened.
Yeah, Villager's just gonna run away from the wood line. Double barracks now getting added to the one that's already there out on the field. VortiX, no, Puppypaw's only real play here back into this game was going to be like higher value units with the Sipahi. That window now sadly seems to be closing as well.
And losing the Imams on top of it, all these low HP injured Sipahi just cannot get healed anymore. Meanwhile, the Abbey for VortiX can always work overtime to heal his units. Of course, the mobility advantage here for Puppypaw is notable. He's able to keep VortiX on edge here in his base. VortiX has to respect this amount of Sipahi, especially after what happened last time he left his base unattended just a few minutes prior in this game. VortiX healing most of his units. The Lords will be gaining speed rapidly. 2 Sipahi finding the gold here. Might be able to get a villager, but not quite.
That villager is right next to the Abbey of Kings, is eventually just gonna get healed back up again. Spears here now also plentiful in numbers. Puppypaw, he just doesn't really have an angle now for engagement, and the archers, they're moving forward. Puppypaw is gonna have to hurry all the way back into his base again, and that is so much idle time on the food income for him yet again. The buildings are now just gonna get burned down.
Yes, once again, these outposts, there's not much there left, so Puppypaw not too displeased to let this position go. The main thing that hurts really is that house that he's going to lose the pop from. Food is starting to become more of an issue here for Puppypaw as well. The sheep are out, now having to move out onto his berries. Way too risky to go onto that goal, but the surround from the behind, the flank attack with the Sipahi coming in here from Puppypaw. There's not too many spears here to protect VortiX's mass. As Sipahi dive directly on top, there's a massive surround here on top of the Yeoman, but they're just not dying fast enough. The health as VortiX takes game number 2 here with Lancaster on excavation against Puppypaw, taking a firm lead in this series.
Yeah, that means that VortiX now is already on match point, and you know what? This could be the second set of the day that could end up as a quick 3-0 here. Not something that I expected, honestly. Between Puppypaw and VortiX, looking at the historic stats, it looks like Puppypaw had a firm lead there. But VortiX seems to be quite in shape at the moment. Next up as well. Oh, okay. Delhi up against the Byzantines. This is some. How do you rate this matchup, Myriad? Because I'm very interested in what you, with your playstyle, how do you rate those two civilizations against each other?
I think it is pretty close, honestly. It's quite close. I would give the edge a little bit to Byzantines if they do play it optimally. You can get some pretty nice timings with Byzantines when it comes to the tri-composition with the longbows in that early part of the feudal age. And it comes down to some key details, I think, where if you actually forego mining any gold after going for the age up as Byzantines, you are able to have your batch of longbows, the first one, with a good number of limitane and some horsemen just in time as the Delhi moves out to get the sacred site, and you're able to fully and effectively contest them, as we have seen other players do in the past. But you know, the timings are so tight for Byzantines to be able to do that. But if Delhi manages to get the sites uncontested, it gets a little bit more complex from then on for Byzantines, as the gold income, of course, gets out of control very, very quickly. But it's a pretty complex and exciting matchup, I would say. What do you think?
I think typically the way I look at this matchup is whichever civilization I don't play wins.
That's quite accurate.
Yeah, it's typically how I look at many matchups. But yeah, this is... I typically think... I feel like whenever I play as Delhi in this matchup... Now, the sample size is quite low, just because I don't really play Delhi or Byzantines a lot. But I feel like Byzantines always has the better units just to make. The issue is typically the quantity of the units that you have. Like, you got the better army, the issue is just getting enough of them out there. Delhi, they need a little bit of time. They need a little bit of time to mass up their units. They do also have like some really good units, the Ghazi Raiders, for example. They're just not quite as good. Of course, you do always have that healing, which is just something that Byzantines straight up don't have access to. If you're Byzantines, you want to take continuous decisive engagements. If you're Delhi, you want to raid, you want to avoid long, drawn-out fights. You want to just, like, do hit-and-run strategies. You want to, like, contest the sacred side. If your opponent goes for that, you want to run away from that, go to another sacred side. Because your opponent's army, the Byzantine army, also isn't as fast. They're not that fast. They're mostly just infantry. And it always depends on if you're able to give your opponent the runaround. If you're able to give your opponent the runaround, I do see Delhi as the favorite civilization. And a lot of it ultimately comes down to how the map spawns as well. I'm totally with you there, Myriad. I think the matchup overall is pretty even between the two. One thing where I do see Delhi as a little bit favored is in a long drawn-out feudal game towards the mid-end, is where Delhi suddenly starts getting pro scouts in for free and just starts shoveling all of the deer underneath their TC.
Yeah, the pro scouts timing is pretty significant here, of course. I mean, because then you have a choice to make as Delhi, right? You reinvest your bucket loads of additional food that you suddenly now have into just remassing significantly and looking to dwindle the mass from Byzantines, notably the mercenaries, of course, longbows normally. Or do you then go for a castle timing and look to get out what has become a notorious composition from the Delhi, which is, of course, the war elephants in combination with the additional range archers, courtesy of, what is it, Peaks? I think it's called the technology, I'm not too sure, in the House of Learning. But I will say, though, as we load into game number 3 here between VortiX, spawning the south side of the map in the color red as the Delhi Sultanate, facing Puppypaw in the color blue as the Byzantines, finding his back against the wall here, being 2 locked down, needs a win to survive in this setup against VortiX. What I was gonna say is that Puppypaw, I have seen him play this matchup before, and I gotta say, he plays it to perfection from the Byzantine perspective.
He does. Like, Puppypaw's Byzantines in general tends to be incredibly, incredibly clean. I don't think he plays it the same way VortiX does, or Lucifron does, and indeed he does only, quotation marks, only send 2 villagers out to stone instead of 3.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of all you need here, I would say, as Byzantines. That will allow you to get your third cistern up and running before you get up to that feudal age, or the landmark finishes, that is, which is a great boost to your income. But can we just talk a little bit about this spawn here from VortiX? Isn't this just insane?
I feel like Delhi doesn't really care about their spawns a lot of the time. Right? Because, like, what really matters for them is, do I have wood? Do I have food? And the gold just comes in from the sacred sites. Sure, the berries are in the back, that's nice, but is that really something that you would really move out early on, like within the first 7 to 8 minutes as Byzantines anyways?
Typically not. It's the deer as well, however, right? Both projected relatively safely towards the sides means when that Pro Scouts does come in, you'll be able to get them pretty freely. However, you know, it's not exactly unfair, because if we look at Puppypaw's side, the backberries allows for a pretty easy winery here, defensible. Of course, Delhi doesn't normally begin spears, so the winery is pretty free for the Byzantines, but the second berry is also really nice and safe behind that initial wood line all the way in the corner. So, and even the third one, I mean, sure, it's quite exposed, of course, being very far, but it's still sideways, not really all the way forward, next to some deer as well as the second gold. So that's going to be a big hotspot as well.
Yeah, I think this is overall a pretty good map for Byzantines. I also like the positioning here of the deer for Puppypaw overall. Like, having the deer on 2 like separate sides means that, depending of course how VortiX shifts around, it might be easier for him to maneuver villagers around in case of raids. Go from one deer pack to the other, spreading out the sister network as well. Overall, definitely not a bad spawn here, I would say. Dave now also coming in for VortiX. VortiX is one of those players that I want to say, like, has a really, really good Feudal Age Delhi. But I think he's one of the players as well that severely, severely underestimates how grand Delhi scaling is past Feudal Age as well. So many times we kind of see VortiX all-inning in Feudal Age with Delhi, or all-inning early on in Castle Age with like a forward keep drop into Mass Trebuchets and just trying to go for Landmark Snipe. When I feel like just like mid-Castle Age is when Delhi scaling really hits peak, when all of those upgrades come in for free and you just, you know, potentially even go up to Imperial Age and suddenly have access to probably on paper the best landmarks in the game value-wise, I want to say. Like, how much value is one of those Sultan elephants that you get there? A normal elephant, like tower elephants, like 1,000 resource, but those have hand cans on top of it, so it's more like 1.5k-ish? Maybe more than that with all the HP?
I think the actual listed price, if I'm not mistaken, is 600 food and 500 gold. So that is the, you know, value on the price tag per se. Of course, they are free at the end of the day, the Sultan's Tower Elephants, but I think that is what the game considers the value, which, of course, is incredibly expensive. But at the end of the day, they are, of course, free.
Hey, they have so much more value, I feel like.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I think so.
It's a unit with like 700, 800 HP, almost infinite range armor, like 13 ranged armor in Imperial Age.
It's insane.
And does like double hand cannoneer DPS. Considering the value of a normal tower elephant, I think it's safe to assume that like the hand cannon Sultan elephant is like double that. I want to safely say. So let's say it's like 2,000 resource and you get one in for like every 1.5 minutes with 4 scholars inside. That's a pretty solid, like more than 1,000 resource per minute from a landmark. There's no other landmark that gives you that much value.
Period. It's true. It's true. Even Karganet Palace, the most they can get up to is, I think, 800 or 850.
800, yeah.
Yeah, if you get sort of the optimal rolls with Military Academy, of course, from the blacksmith. Yeah, well, that's always a possibility. You'll definitely be able to take down buildings quick, of course. But at the end of the day here, we have the resume. Looks like, oh, Puppypaw.
Yes.
There
Not
we
just
go.
that, but he can put a cistern here as well. Double boost up the build speed on that.
This is an easy
put another
thing to...
cistern here?
Ah, he must do, right? I'm pretty sure it's on the way very soon. He does have the stone for it now. He's just looking for the space to do so. But notably here, an easy thing to forget, not many people know this, but the neutral trade posts, not only are they value-wise cheaper overall than the mercenaries that are regular from the contract, as we see the bit displayed now, but they also produce faster. So as a result, it's actually, if you can get such a good trade post, especially with such valuable units, it would be a bit of a slip-up not to use it, and Puppypaw recognize this. It is going to be the Royal Knights in combination with the Limitane here. And VortiX, I'm not sure if this is something he expects. I believe the scout is in position. He might have seen it, yeah.
Oh, what is this cistern? This one's in Narnia. Huh. Okay, so he's... It's a lot of food there. Like, you want that. You really want that.
Yeah, he's trying to get maximal value, I guess. Cover as much as he possibly can. But, you know, one of the caveats when you do this is you see not all of the berries are covered. Not all of the deer are covered. Both the golds are covered. But at the same time, the trade post is not covered. So, I mean, personally, I would have liked to see first the system being placed next to the trade post. And then you extend it down south towards that hotspot there. Of course, I'm not as good as Puppypaw, so I will stop my judgment there.
Now we do have the veteran Royal Knight, not the veteran, but just the normal Royal Knights out there from Puppypaw. Quite good value. Is now even adding in the Longbowman. And the interesting thing, I do believe, is that the plus 50% production speed extends to the normal mercenaries that you make as well from the mercenary house, not just the unique mercenaries. Though it seems like we can't really see it. The tooltip says it doesn't, but I'm quite certain that it does.
Remains to be seen. Oh, we do have it here. Plus 50 protection production speed by placing it near a trade post. That is
Never
really,
trust a
really
tooltip.
That is quite significant indeed. Now we have the caps starting here for VortiX. Center cap without too much issues here for VortiX. The right side is also now being captured. Looks like Puppypaw doesn't have any units in position to deal with that. It does appear like the Royal Knights, no actually it's two Limitane heading that way, but I don't think they'll be there in time to stop the capture.
Yeah, so the first Sacred Site has been taken up, and look at the research that's also coming in now. Pro Scouts about to finish up. Archers from VortiX. He went a little bit too far out of position here, but the shield wall means that the Limitani are not going to be able to catch up.
Yeah, you can see how what a severe decrease in speed they have. But this is, I want to say this is so interesting from Puppypaw. We have the, this is something that you don't typically do often as Byzantine split your mercenaries between different kinds here. Different units completely, but the clash does come in over this relic of all things, angling towards the sacred site, of course. Puppy has to be very careful here. The Limitane are in position to block the charge from the Ghazis, but there's many archers behind said Ghazis, so you can't linger here for very long. Reinforcements do come in. Horsemen on the field here for Puppypaw now. The Tricon position is in full effect for him as well at this point in time.
We do now have a couple of Knight raids coming in around the wood line. That's one Spearman down. He's gonna find the villagers now. But he's gonna lose a knight for it. He should at least kill a villager, right? But it said textiles. Ooh, VortiX did get textiles.
Yeah, that
makes a lot of sense when you don't have to pay anything for it.
Yeah, that is always a nice incentive for it. I guess at the end of the day, you still pay a whole villager for it, which is a hefty price tag at the end of the day. But if it saves you villagers down the line, more than worth it, of course. Puppy now feeling confident enough in his mass to start contesting this center side. Takes a good little engagement here to start off with. A few of the archers from VortiX do fall without trading too many other units except Spearmen. Always a worth it trade in this case for him.
Did VortiX put up a market? Question here. Typically VortiX, he's like one of those players that would, yeah, he does have a market that would, instead of looking for a potential age up, just trade out resources in order to keep investing into the feudal age. And looking at the army value, it does have a pretty big lead there, even though considering like a lot of the army value, of course, scholars does get counted in towards that. But even accounting for that, it is a lot of army value that he has right now.
Yeah, it's very significant. Of course, scholars do count in towards that, I believe, but at the end of the day, they are more than capable fighting units, serving as support, healing behind the back, which is one of the reasons that he is so powerful when it comes to smaller engagements, especially skirmishes around the map. VortiX looking to make some space with the Ghazis here towards this northern sacred side, trying to find either a raid or some out of position units.
Oh, villagers getting found?
Ooh, that's so painful.
Like there's no Expelatoris in there though. No gold gained here for Puppypaw, but a lot of idle time achieved, and maybe some more villagers going down. Exile's just paying dividends here.
So good, yeah, that could have been disastrous there for VortiX, but instead, doesn't look too bad here. Of course, the main damage here caused is the idle time, but Puppy is losing most of his cavalry for it. Not too sure who that was better for in the end. Maybe still better for him in the end. Ooh, Ghazis.
The Ghazi Raiders got killed as well.
They're all dead? Only one left on the field.
They're all dead. And now the horsemen, they're running past. They're running past the spearmen. VortiX got distracted too much by these raids and pays a heavy price for it.
Oh, that could have been also so much worse there for VortiX, but Puppypaw playing it safe, playing it accurate. It just decaps the site, is happy with the favorable trade and the idle time that he has found. Now also moving out onto those southern berries there, building up an outpost, not risking anything. Of course, he doesn't know that he just massacred all of VortiX's Ghazi Raiders, but he now reinvests into more of them.
A lot of additional resources now being gathered up here now by Puppypaw. Looked up an outpost, gets the cistern in, and with that, like, his economy is super set now for the meantime. And these are starting to become fights that Puppypaw can in theory take. He now has 10 longbows, so he has enough to essentially one-shot the spearmen that VortiX has 13 of. Meanwhile, Puppypaw also has 16 horsemen. He can easily go for these raids. fact, he's also looking for these scholars that are trying to recapture sacred sites. Not going to let that happen. Fight is now being taken in the middle. Not all of Puppypaw's army is here. There's only 4 out of the 16 horsemen. Just like that, a couple of the longbowmen do go down. Suddenly no longer going to be able to one-shot these spearmen, at least not easily. But, right out in the end, still benefiting Puppypaw here.
Yeah, as the front line is so much sturdier here for Puppypaw, but behind this, bad news here for VortiX. It is again, he gets discovered on the berries. Outpost is up this time round, but it's... Yeah, he killed another one here, but I mean, Textile's value cannot be understated in the end, right?
Crazy. Do we have Expelatoris at this point in time is what I'm really asking, because like these raids without Expelatoris, he does have it. He does have it.
Did lose a decent bunch of the longbows though, right? 3 of them did go down there.
Yeah.
There's going to be another batch on the way soon. He almost has the auto war for it. He might instead opt for another batch of a pair of knights instead, for that matter. But we'll have to see.
We'll get the longbows.
No, it is going to be the longbows, yeah. Scholar gets discovered.
Ooh, horsemen need to be so careful. Longbows getting traded out here. Spearman being sniped. Oh, longbows, expensive losses there. Oh, rushes forward. Horsemen are gonna connect. Right, he's gonna pick up all of these archers. Okay, VortiX, he's now going to be in a really rough spot. Longbowman hovering around as well, gonna be picking off the spearmen there now. VortiX
the spearmen
so many units.
They just weren't in position, right? He was split on too many angles, and as a result, lack of mobility. A lot of it stemming from just losing those Ghazis earlier on. The mobility advantage that he had initially is just completely gone here for VortiX. And Puppy now with renewed vigor, 17 horsemen on the field. I mean, with longbows on the field as well, it feels so bad here for VortiX to make spearmen. It's never a decision you really, you know... I mean, spearmen always find value against cavalry, but against longbows, it's so hard to keep them alive and maximize the value. And Puppy trending towards that castle age now. VortiX, he has a mountain to climb in this game.
Does he? Definitely does. I mean, he probably still has a couple of gear remaining underneath his TC. He's so far away from an age up on his side. Meanwhile, Puppypaw, he's definitely flirting with the idea. Has a ton of food income as well, and we're getting to the point, right, with cataphracts and mass longbows thanks to the Golden Horn Tower. It's gonna be really difficult, but now the fight is happening. The horsemen just completely surrounding the archers. Meanwhile, the longbowmen just picking apart these spearmen bit by bit, and the horseman count just isn't going down. A couple of Ghazi Raiders now, though, getting some good hits up against the longbows. A couple of them do go down. But it's not a fight that VortiX can win long term. No scholars have been pulled yet. Villagers here, a couple go down, but Outpost is going to save the majority of them.
VortiX has been doing a great job of keeping his spearmen alive, though. He's able to pull them back towards the berries, but the mass does not lie. With the longbows as well, picking them off viciously whenever Puppypaw gets the chance. Puppypaw did reinvest, however, and is now floating a little bit of res, looking to make a decision here as to how to proceed. But earlier on, he did spend his resources instead to remass and deal even more damage to VortiX. Keep his army in check, get him to reinvest, and behind this, now the Golden Horn Tower is on the way. And I mean, Delhi, if they do get Castle Age in a position of power against the Byzantines, can certainly command the tempo, but this is not one of those cases as VortiX finding himself in a really tough position and kind of on his last legs in this game here.
Yeah, for sure. Just continuously has to reinvest into those spearmen, into those Ghazi Raiders, else Puppypaw will just run over him. Also, like VortiX realize, okay, maybe my opponent is now aging up. This could be a window of opportunity for him. Maybe he were to pull all of the scholars with him. Go for the mass healing approach. Oh,
Can pay dividends for him.
Lumber camp.
That's close enough, right?
Oh, Willet, that's a lot of gold. That's a lot of gold. 30. Make that 60. Oh no. Ray is happening. Could have been worse though, but 60 gold is getting traded over.
At the end of the day, it really hurts for VortiX here, and of course the extra gold just being so much more painful, knowing every villager you lose gives so much even additional value to your opponent. Besides getting decapped by a single Limitane behind this as well, VortiX looking to combine his mass here and potentially make a push to try to find some semblance of damage, but this double Cataphract production on the way here for Puppypaw. Varangians in queue now as well. Horseman upgrade on the way too. Veteran longbows are probably already now on the field, most likely. Has enough olive oil for another batch, and VortiX looking to make a grand final push here, trying to do as much damage as he possibly can, but Puppypaw about to surround from all sides.
Woman are going to be one-shot though by the army here from VortiX. Enough archers to do so. Cataphracts are doing a great job at the front line. Reinforcements all getting picked off by the horsemen. Veterancy on the horsemen already, or just about to be able to hit here now as well. The army mass from VortiX, it's going down steadily. Now the veterancy upgrade from the horsemen should hit right about now. There we go. Remaining archers now completely surrounded by the cavalry. And even though VortiX has just regained control of one of the sacred sites, having to reinvest into military now, it's just not feasible. And he knows GG gets called, and just like that, Puppypaw now also with a point on the scoreboard.
Much needed indeed, as losing this game would mean that the set is over for Puppypaw, at least for today, of course. But instead, showing exemplary Byzantine gameplay in this game number 4 here, game number 3, excuse me, and picks up the win. Looking to tie the series and then hopefully win it afterwards. Very well played here from Puppypaw especially, but VortiX has also done a fantastic job of keeping himself in that game for a long old while there. Definitely not an easy game here for Puppypaw, but in the end he closes it out very well.
Yeah. We can already see the upcoming series here. It is going to be the Malians up against the Rus. That is one of the more interesting Rus matchups, I want to say, because you can't play it the normal way Rus likes with like fast castle and mass cavalry archers. Just not possible up against a civilization that has ranged spearman attack with the Donzos, on top of also getting access to the javelin thrower. So you definitely have to play this one a little bit more infantry focused. I want to say like mass archer, men-at-arms, and then some knights maybe, but you cannot make cavalry archers.
So to give a quick shout out to Johan Buck for the 10 gifted subs. Thank you very much. Always appreciated here, of course, helping the scene out. But you're more than right, Krakody. It's a situation where Rus has to adapt, right? I mean, the Fulani, the food income is just something that will purely exceed what Rus can output in those initial stages, even with the deer, and naturally Malians have a fantastic answer to those horse archers in the form of the javelin thrower. So not a unit we often see in this matchup, especially on this kind of a map where mobility is limited and cavalry loses a significant bit of value, especially as the game goes on. I'm quite curious to see especially how Puppypaw will look to play this as the Rus.
Yeah, indeed. Myriad, you did mention it. Thank you guys so much for the support here on EGC. We do have a little bit of a perfect storm brewing here at the moment on Twitch, as it's not just September at the moment, where you're getting a hefty discount on your subscription here on twitch.tv, but also Valorant at the moment with their little action going on. Increasing the subscriptions that are being gifted out there. So, you know, if you want to support EGC, now is probably the best time ever to do so. So, if you guys are sick and tired of watching ads, right now is probably the best time here on Twitch TV to, you know, spread the love, gift a sub, buy a sub yourself. You'll be heavily rewarded by not only not having to watch ads, but also being able to take advantage of the new rewind feature here on Twitch, where subscribers and Twitch Turbo users are able to, just similarly to YouTube, be able to immediately like go back through the VOD without actually having to like reopen the channel side.
Indeed, and of course, any donations will directly go towards the scene, towards EGC, to help keep putting on these fantastic tournaments, grow the scene even further, and keep competition fierce here at the top level for us. We, of course, all only benefit from the support. So thank you so much if you do decide to help. Again, Johan back with another 10. We appreciate it immensely. So thank you very much to Johan, as well as anyone else who subscribes. It goes a very long way for us.
It definitely does, but looks like we're immediately going to be jumping in to our game number 4 as JDAE also comes in with an additional 10 gifted subs. Thank you so much, very much appreciated there as well. But now it is time. We're here on Coastal Cliffs. We're looking at VortiX playing as the Malians up against Puppypaw in the color blue as the Ruse. And this one's going to be interesting. Look at the gold spawns here for the Ruse right next to each other on the left-hand side. Not that that's a resource that Ruse actually wants to gather at all. It's just nice to look at.
It is nice to look at indeed. Almost perfect for a value mining camp there in between.
Maybe a value TC?
Oh, now you're really sweet talking me, Crackety. That would be... I mean, thing is, it's actually genuinely, I believe, a good idea against Malians to do so as
yeah, I think
even
TC here is good, yeah.
Of course, it's a little bit difficult. The stone is naturally far away on coastal cliffs. There is no starting stone per se. There's only a secondary and a third stone here, and then a fifth one that is shared in the center of the map for both players. First come, first served, of course. But with the golden gate that Rus has access to, you can of course exchange your gold very favorably. 100 gold for 150 stone. So theoretically, you just get 2 pumps with the tickets for a total of 300 stone. Gather 50 long distance with villagers, and right now you can afford a TC without even building a mining camp on that stone quite comfortably. But the issue is, although it might be a very effective strat for the Rus here, in this kind of a map, it is also way easier to punish, right? There's less food, there's less space, there's less time for that DC to pay off at the end of the day. So, and a player like VortiX will not let that DC go away scot-free.
Look at what Puppypaw did here. He actually went out to gold with a single villager. Instead of building a second hunting cabin, he instead just sends a single villager out to gold in order to make up for the lost income from that second hunting cabin. It's definitely an interesting play coming out here from him. Typically, like, the second hunting cabin still makes a lot of sense, purely because of Pro Scout. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he's still going to be opting for a Pro Scout play, or whether this could even be something like an old-fashioned Ruse mass archer rush. I said it, and I immediately was like, nah, that's not right.
It's like one of those
still
things.
The Pro Scout meta.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of those things, like, you know, as you say it or as you think it, there's a feeling of instant regret, right? But honestly, it's not really impossible to see here. I mean, typically that's the case with Kremlin, right? That used to be very common, saving so much on the wooden fortress, allowing the archer pump to come out way earlier. But still very doable with the wooden fortress. But this build is without a doubt interesting here from Puppypaw. I mean, sometimes it's good to send 1 or 2 villagers, even with a double cabin, to get that gold in for an even faster timing on the Pro Scouts. But that is not going to be the case here. We mentioned opting for the mining camp instead. I'm really curious to see what Puppypaw has in mind here with this build. Might still be just the regular Pro Scouts, as a 4th one is now in production for him. And this is very good up against the Malians here. Very annoying these scouts are. The houses, of course, the Malians cheaper, but also provide less housing. And I believe they're more vulnerable as well. They're squishier, right? If I'm not mistaken.
They are, but they recently increased the health. I want to say
did.
from 500 to 550, so they're no longer like that squishy. Like, when it comes to cost to health relation, they're actually much more efficient than normal houses now.
Yeah. It's true. However, the pressure is going to be put on, and the houses, if not repaired, will begin falling here for VortiX. And, you know, timings are very tight in these in this early feudal age part. Every piece of stone, gold, wood, and food is pretty much accounted for and serves a very clear purpose. So having to dedicate some wood to repair, which seems like is not on VortiX's priority, is going to be costly. But instead, he's just going to ignore it for now. Double VorTX on the way, mill as well. and Warrior Scout upgrade is coming in for him as well.
Pro Scout for Puppypaw. I find it interesting how he went for like 4 Scouts at a very like early timing and then immediately goes for Pro Scout after. I like the build idea behind this because realistically, like, you're not gonna need a lot more than 4 Scouts. 4 Scouts are enough to pick up a deer pack in 2 trips. Like, making any more than that in terms of Scouts is kind of like, okay, you're getting them a little bit faster, but not that much faster. Now we're also getting some early Spearmen in here for Puppypaw, so it's gonna have the perfect response to the Warrior Scouts as well.
Yes, early Spearman is not only, of course, fantastic against these Pro Scouts, but generally is a great idea up against the Malians. Malians typically, they don't really want to go into archers early on because of the heavy wood investment they need to make. Courtesy of that pit mine, of course, wanting to get their second one ASAP. But also later on, building those ranches is pretty costly, as well as production building, so making archers definitely really strains their economy early on. And although javelin throwers, of course, will do great up against spearmen, especially as numbers start climbing, initially it's not the easiest thing because of how long they take to produce as well compared to regular archers. Puppypaw, looks like the timing for the Pro Scouts is pretty comparable to the regular double cabin build. So, I mean, frankly, it's a cool little build, but I don't quite see the value just yet, as opposed to at this point you would just have an extra hunting cabin pumping gold as well, but maybe I'm blind.
Yeah, it would have paid off itself already, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're typically at like 20 gold per minute, at this point it would have already paid off. Little scout for a scout trade here. And now it's like harder for Puppypaw to rebuild the scouts a little bit as well in that way. VortiX, he's already like just fully cattle booming behind this as well. Already on 6 cattle ranches coming up, and yeah, he's not really... There's nothing that he really needs to be afraid of at the moment at all.
Yeah, he did recognize, of course, I mean, when you do invest in that Pro Scouts as the Roost and you go for the Deer as well as the additional Scouts, it does slow down your early timings a bit and gives Malians the space to either get up a second pit mine earlier or to begin a very early cow boom. So VortiX did make this choice, of course. It's still just on 1 pit mine for now, but does have 7 cows now and an 8th already going to be deposited in those ranches. Specialized spec finishing for him as well. VortiX is going to opt for the classic composition from Malians that we typically see in Castle Age, but is preparing it in Feudal now instead. Which, of course, if you can get a good mass of archers and sofas together, especially because sofas somewhat recently did get buffed in Feudal Age, then it's great. However, Rus does have access to knights in Feudal Age, so it makes it a little bit more complicated.
Ooh, nice little ball pull there from one of the villagers as well. Going to put on some additional hurt here on these spearmen, but they do just run past. Only 1 horseman, 1 knight here, but that is going to be enough in combination with the spearmen to continuously chase VortiX all the way back into his base and be able to pick off these archers bit by bit here on the way back. Although the sofas, now in mass, also able to take down one of those horsemen. This isn't really something that Puppypaw can continuously chase now for the time being. But he is going to have to soon look into some sort of alternative here, like attack window. Because at the moment, like, VortiX is very far ahead economy-wise, thanks to having like 10 cattle already in cattle ranches. He's got the Manza Quarry, he's about to be building his 2nd pit mine. That's just a lot of passive income here for him. That just propels him far and far ahead. And we've seen how well sofas do at the moment after their most recent buff. Like, they are actually like a very, very fearsome mass feudal age knight replacement now.
They really are indeed, especially courtesy of that +2 additional damage against all infantry that they do have innately. An easy thing to underestimate, but very useful up against, of course, archers and even spearmen for that matter, as VortiX does indeed have the cows going for him, providing a significant eco boost. However, Puppy does have that deer manifested in that food income. Close to double VortiX's at this point in time still. But there's a notable lack of economic upgrades here for Puppypaw, which I have to question a little bit, especially playing an aggressive extended feudal age like this. There's so much value being missed out here. I mean, there's no wheelbarrow, no double broad axe. There's, of course, survival techniques for the deer, but
Wheelbarrow, I can, like, definitely forgive just because what walking are the villagers from Puppypaw really doing at the moment? The deer is right next to the TC. At most, it would help him with the wood gathering, where he does already get, like, a pretty nice benefit from already. It's not the most important thing, and we can tell that right now Puppypaw, he is trying to go for his own little additional scaling window now, which is going to be Castle Age. It just makes a lot of sense for him now to go into Castle Age, and here we go, trades out a little bit of wood, and be able to hit the age up very, very soon-ish. Now he doesn't have any villagers in gold, so he's just reliant on the passive bounty generation right now from the drop-offs of the villagers.
Yes, has been effectively using his tickets as well. None left on the golden gate, so don't rely on that just yet here. But the gold does come in, so should be high trade house coming in, and this is a very nice little timing for him. Get for the high trade house rushing it at this point with 16 villages. But the issue, right, is historically, I mean, castle timings can be very effective against the Malians, especially if they're heavily invested and unprepared. Of course, getting value out of those stronger units early on and trading them out against the Mali, even though they do have the answers necessary against armored units with the Musafadi warrior in the feudal age, they still struggle against castle age units if the masses are similar, of course. But here for VortiX, the cows are in, right? And the archer numbers are climbing, the sofa numbers are climbing. Puppypaw has to be very, very precise with his aggression here and his unit choices, as well as his upgrades, to really get the most out of this timing, because VortiX is not far behind and has pretty much full ranches almost at this point in time.
Quick wall off. Not gonna be able to jump inside, and here's the power of the sofas. Not only are they cheaper, but they're also a good bit quicker than normal knights, so these knights from Puppypaw are not gonna be able to make it out alive.
We do have a
follow-up.
Yeah, quick turnaround time here for VortiX. This is what we mean, right? Just a little bit of pressure alleviation from going for that castle age for Puppypaw gives VortiX the space necessary, as the sofas overextend maybe just a little bit and get caught by the space. Two of them do go down pretty quickly in turn. Heavy damage suffered by the others as well. We have veterancy coming in for the knights, all two of them on the field, as well as, I think that's the horseman veterancy if I'm not mistaken. Even horse archers being queued up here for Puppy.
Getting some ruse horse archers here up against the Malians. That honestly feels quite dangerous. We do have 100 gold per minute at the moment from the high trade house, but Puppypaw, he's gonna need the relics here if he wants to get continuous passive gold income in order to keep up with the Malians. As now, from this point on, there's a window of opportunity for the ruse to win the game. It's a very, very slight window. The window is until the food runs out. Because the food's never going to run out for the Malians. It's going to run out within the next 5 minutes for the ruse.
Veterancy coming in now for the archers. Iron Under Mesh on the way for VortiX as well here. He's going to have what is essentially the premium Malian army in the castle age here. Imported armor coming in for the sofas as well. Such a potent upgrade, giving them plenty of additional armor. Point where they exceed regular knights. Of course, poison arrows, the real good upgrade here for VortiX to get, but I think it is the most expensive castle age upgrade in the game, if I'm not mistaken. So not an easy thing to afford.
Holds a lot, yeah. It is quite expensive, but the payout is huge as well, as we do have a raid going on underneath the high trade house. Villagers actually do go down here quite a bit. Yeah, the sofas are gonna find a lot of villager kills here.
Yeah, cutting off the reinforcements as well. This does force Puppypaw to respond to this raid. The reinforcements are held in reserve to deal with this, so not as much aggression on the front line. And a lot of idle time being caused. So many villagers going down here.
Yeah, it does truly hurt a lot.
Like here, Puppypaw still scaling these Ruse Horse Archers behind this as well, quite surprisingly.
And arms now too. He's got a lot of food, right? It's just difficult right now, gold-wise. He does have a couple more villagers out on gold as well. VortiX, he's got a pretty good mass of archers and sofas. But looking at the income, VortiX right now, he's sitting at roughly 2,500. Puppypaw more on like 1,500 resource per minute right now.
Realistically, this is only going to get harder and harder for Puppypaw in this case. As the day starts running out, the Fulani will not run out. Now, poison arrows on the way as well for VortiX behind this. You can see the sofa keep climbing, the archer numbers keep climbing. Army value still in favor here for Puppypaw for now, but for how long really? The horse archers, I still have to question this decision. I mean, it will do great up against the sofa, of course, but once the archers are fully upgraded here, which is very, very soon at this point in time, it'll get quite difficult. Rico coming in here for Puppy. Ooh. Oh no, it's still open.
He's running past.
Oh no.
It's so many more villagers going down yet again. That's still not closed up. And more villager! Oh my god, Puppypaw is losing everything this game. So many more villagers going down.
These sofa rates. This few units so good at raiding, and this few players so good as raiding as VortiX in this game, really showing the strength of these Malians when they are not punished enough. Similarly, in dynamic to Byzantines, if you just let them relax for a little bit, it all gets out of control so quickly here. Puppy looking to intercept these sofa, but these three sofa are a mere fraction of VortiX's full mass. You can see starting to close the gap in army value, but the economy count, it is even more severe than it looks on paper, as the Fulani close to about 20 villages or so in terms of value, all on food, never idle, never having to drop off, fully efficient. So VortiX at this point nearly double in economy.
And we're about to have one last big fight here, I feel like. Puppypaw ideally will also want to pull his warrior monk with it as well. He could really use the aura here. Needs to be careful though, some of the spearmen a little bit overzealous, not the rest of the army isn't quite there yet. And now the fight is getting taken. Sophus here as the front line, but VortiX, he's also hiding behind all of this. Makes it a lot more difficult for Puppypaw and his infantry mass to catch up to this. Hiding's gonna be very difficult for him to deal with at the moment. So many of the knights already went down behind this for Puppypaw. He's only got 3 knights remaining here at the front line. And now military mass, VortiX, he has taken the lead. Army value, he's taken the lead. Income, he's had the lead now for quite a while. And there's just no way back into it. Suddenly the front line disappears and VortiX now able to dive onto it with the sofas. Runs through, and just like that, VortiX able to win here with the Malians up against the Ruse from Puppypaw. He's gonna be able to win this set 3-1.
Good fight put up by Puppypaw. Definitely making it difficult here for VortiX, but in the end, a 3-1 victory is pretty decisive here for VortiX and closing it out with the Malians. Well played indeed to both players, but VortiX especially showing his good form lately. And in practice, paying off immensely for him. Taking out Puppypaw, who, as we saw previously, historically, has had his number, but recently VortiX, well, not only in this tournament, but before as well, has been winning the series up against Puppypaw. I mean, the idea from Puppypaw, right? This is typically how you see, for example, Jushi or China playing up against Malians, right? You pump out a good bunch of units in that early feudal, you put on the pressure, you get Mali to invest, and then there's a very quick turnaround time for that castlage when you can get your upgrades and hopefully start trading out whilst you still have a deer advantage and, you know, still have a great economy that can somewhat match the cows, initially at least. You can start trading out castle against feudal and the trades will favor you. But so quick on the turnaround VortiX was as well, and once the sofa cross into that Puppypaw's third of the map and the raids start coming in, 1 villager, 2, 3 and 4 adds up so quickly, and when you're dealing with the cows as well, knowing that is behind VortiX's economy too, it only goes one way.
It really does. The wall of here as well. Losing so many villagers against a civilization that is already like ahead of you baseline without you investing into a second TC. We talked about it a little bit, just a second TC potentially like being a really good option here for Ruse. I really do see the vision of the second TC play now after watching this game especially. I feel like it just would help you so much with the overall economy. And I do quite like the play that we had there initially with like the only single hunting cabin play. I do see the vision behind that as well, but only on the condition of adding more hunting cabins later on down the line. I like the timing that he got out of it there beginning. In the end, wasn't quite enough there. So VortiX, he is going to be taking those points in the group stage there. And that is going it for this set. But we do still have an interview ahead of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do give you VortiX winner of this year. All right, VortiX, congratulations on winning up against Puppypaw 3-1. A pretty clean set overall. How are you feeling after this one?
Thank you. Well, I started feeling a little bit sick on game 1, and I think it was a bit sloppier than usual lately, but obviously really happy to go through as first as well.
You played these like you said you were a little bit sick, but I think overall like you played these games really solid, just especially looking back at the Japan versus French game, right? Like coming back in that one with the raids and whatnot. It was a really messy game overall between you and Puppypaw, but it worked out well in the end. And I wanna quickly like get your take on the current meta, right? Because at the moment it all feels very cavalry focused. What's your take on the meta? Is that a meta where you feel confident in? Because you certainly were looking quite strong here today.
Yeah, if I had to define the meta, I would just say Louis MT, right? I think the meta is pretty much his style, where you basically just try to sit on your resources and sit at base while raiding a lot, right? And then obviously cavalry is really strong right now, so the strongest cavalry ships are really good, right? And it's basically, yeah, I think it's mainly Archer Knight, except for some ships like Lancaster, right, where you want to play feudal, or like Delhi even, where you play elephants after that. But other than that, it's basically Louis style, where you just sit on base and raid with knights and then play Knight Archer.
Overall, how well do you think you're prepared for this tournament? You obviously also like practicing a lot. You're a player that is very well known for practicing a lot throughout. How well do you think you're overall prepared for the competition? Because competition is quite fierce at the moment, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most competitive we've ever had, right? It feels like the level in some players is crazy. Like Louis, Marino, for example, I think their level right now is sick. I've prepared quite a lot, but it's also true that in the last 2 weeks I'm already started to feel, the burnout that you feel after you practice a lot for a while. So I don't think my level is as high as it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I'm still feeling really well. And like you said, I think this meta suits me, so I'm feeling good.
All right, nice to hear. All right, thank you one so much for the interview, VortiX, and I'm gonna let you sleep now, or maybe even watch the ongoing games, as we do still have a lot of sets going on here today. Congratulations once again for winning up against Puppypaw, and we'll be seeing a lot more of you in the future.
Thank you. Goodbye.